We are following breaking news tonight on Action 2 News at 6. Brendan Dassey's conviction in the death of Teresa Halbach is overturned.
Stephen Avery's nephew made national headlines after the Netflix series Making a Murderer. We have full team coverage tonight with reaction and what lies ahead for Brendan Dassey.
From WBAY TV, coverage you can count on. Action 2 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It is the breaking news we've been following all night out of Milwaukee. Brendan Dassey's murder conviction of Teresa Halbach has been overturned by a federal judge.
His story made national headlines after the Netflix series Making a Murderer premiered. Dassey was convicted of the 2005 murder of freelance photographer Teresa Halbach in Manitowoc County. His uncle Stephen Avery was also convicted in the murder. Avery is currently appealing his conviction. Our Claire Cayley starts our team coverage tonight to explain how the judge made this decision. Claire.
Well, Jeff and Cammie, the judge was really looking at two things. Did Brendan Dassey have ineffective counsel, and should his confession have been allowed in court? The judge decided Dassey did not prove he had ineffective counsel, but he did determine Dassey's confession should not have been used at trial. In fact, the judge said, quote, "It is the conclusion of the court that this case represents the sort of extreme malfunction in the state criminal justice system," end quote. Court documents say investigators used leading questions when interrogating Dassey, which made it difficult for them to tell if he really knew the facts or was just agreeing with investigators. The judge believes investigators repeatedly claimed to already know what happened to Halbach and that Dassey had nothing to worry about. The decision states the repeated false promises made by investigators, along with Dassey's age, intellectual deficits, and lack of a supportive adult, led the judge to decide the conviction was involuntary.
A lot of people asking the question now, does Dassey go free?
We looked into that, and the court documents say that the state has an option to appeal the decision, or they have 90 days to retry the case.
What if that does not happen?
If that doesn't happen, Dassey will be released from prison.
All right. Thanks, Claire.
Claire, thank you. As this breaking story unfolds, we've started to get reaction from those involved. We were actually there when one of Stephen Avery's brothers learned about Dassey's overturned conviction. Emily Matesic joins us now live from Waupun to tell us that part of the story. Emily.
Yeah, Jeff, we caught up with Earl Avery, one of Stephen Avery's brothers, as he was leaving Waupun Correctional here in Waupun after visiting his brother Stephen. He says he didn't know about the reversal in the Dassey case until he came out of the prison and turned his cell phone on and had several messages about it. While the news comes as a surprise to Earl Avery, he says he is hopeful for what it means to his brother Stephen's case.
Does this give you any more hope?
Oh, sure. You know, he'll be out of there sooner or later. You know, like he says, the truth will always come out.
His brother was very upbeat during their visit today, and that Stephen can't talk about his appeal, but that Kathleen Zellner, Stephen Avery's appellate attorney, was here visiting with him this morning. Earl Avery also told us that he doesn't think Brendan Dassey will be retried because he believes that in the court of public opinion, the public is supportive of Brendan Dassey. But as we know, the court of public opinion in this case does not matter. It will be up to the state to decide whether or not to retry Brendan Dassey. For now, we're live in Waupun. Emily Matesic, Action 2 News.
Thank you, Emily. We're also hearing from county officials on Dassey's overturned conviction. Our George Rodas is in Manitowoc gathering reactions. George.
We have reached out to the county sheriff's department here in Manitowoc. We have not heard back from their office, but we did speak to the county executive here, Bob Ziegelbauer, who has spoken to us in the past about the Avery and Dassey cases. He says this announcement took him by surprise. He says he's not thrilled with any attention this brings on his city and his county after what they've already been through. Here's what he had to say.
I don't know what's next. I presume that the order will be appealed by the state justice department, but I don't know. It's still kind of new to me. I have a lot of concern for the family of the victim, and that's one thing we can't forget.
Teresa Halbach and her family on his mind tonight. We are still working to get more reactions from Manitowoc, and if we get them, we will bring them to you on air and online, that is, at WBAY.com. But for now, live in Manitowoc, George Rodas, Action 2 News.
Thank you, George. Well, the news of Brendan Dassey's overturned conviction leads many questioning what is next for both Dassey and Stephen Avery at this point. Michelle Clemens joins us live in the newsroom with what she found out today. Michelle.
Cammy, we've reached out to at least a dozen people related to the cases, including Brendan Dassey's lawyers, one of which is out of town, but says he's aware of the ruling. We hear from him soon. We also reached out to Stephen Avery's attorney, Kathleen Zellner. She says she was in Wisconsin visiting Avery today and says he is happy for Brendan. She says in a statement, quote, "We know when an unbiased court reviews all of the new evidence we have, Stephen will have his conviction overturned as well," end quote. Dean Strang, Avery's former attorney, also got back to us and says in a statement, quote, "We are thankful and proud that a federal court fulfilled its fundamental role for Brendan Dassey today. In doing so, this federal court served all Americans," end quote. The director of communications for the Wisconsin Department of Justice also responded, saying the department is reviewing the order and has no comment at this time. We also reached out to Dassey's former defense attorney, Len Kaczynski. As we told you moments ago, the judge today decided that Dassey did not have ineffective counsel. Kaczynski says he's relieved by today's ruling.
In the sense that there was an issue that I preserved for appeal before it was off the case, I was in a sense gratified because the fact that that was the basis for Magistrate Judge Duffin's decision. So that I did my job.
Now, reaction continues to pour into our newsroom tonight, and we'll be following it all and have the latest details tonight on Action 2 News at 10. Jeff?
A recap of the breaking news we've been following all afternoon. A federal judge in Milwaukee has overturned Brendan Dassey's murder conviction. A judge ordered Dassey be released from custody unless the state moves to retry him within 90 days of Friday's ruling. He will not be released until the appeals process is finished, though. Dassey was sentenced for the 2005 murder of freelance photographer Teresa Halbach in Manitowoc County. His uncle, Stephen Avery, also convicted in that murder.
And court documents say investigators used leading questions when interrogating Dassey, which made it difficult for them to tell if he really knew the facts or was agreeing with investigators. The decision also considered other factors like Dassey's age, intellectual deficits, and absence of a supportive adult. Those factors led a judge to determine that Dassey's confession was involuntary. We have full team coverage on this story. Look for updates on Action 2 News at 10 and online at WBAY.com.